Hello and welcome to the Comics Pals review of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. This is the sequel to 2018's Black Panther, and of course, you can't talk about this without mentioning the fact that it is missing the star of 2018's Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman. Of course, we lost him in 2020, August of 2020, due to cancer, and that is a specter that hangs over this film, both in the sense of the movie, the actual character dying, but also the man. Um, and I'm excited to talk about that. I'm excited to talk about how that impacted the movie. I'm excited to talk about the movie itself and how it stands strong and tall, with so many odds stacked against it in a way that maybe even the first Black Panther didn't have the odds stacked against it. So we're going to get into all that here in just a moment. If you're new to the Comics Pals, welcome. Thank you for joining. I am Sean, joined by Tyler.
Hello. Wakanda forever.
and Marco.
What's up? Wakanda forever.
No, you said Ibambe.
I'm repping, dude. I've got my
Hey.
Wakanda Forever t-shirt on, as you can see.
I have my Wakanda boxers on.
You got Wakanda undies, bro?
No, I could just lie about it because I'm not going to show about it on the show it on the show. So who's gonna know?
You got a Wakanda Forever tramp stamp, huh?
Oh, I got that.
You got it's a good tattoo, man. Real quick, we do 2 podcasts a week, one of them in which we review comics, the other that drops every Thursday live on Twitch and YouTube, and then the other is our main show, which is on Saturdays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern, and that's where we talk about, we talk about movies, we talk about the comics, what's going on behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff. So if you're into that, definitely do check us out. The Comics Pals all over the map. So before we get into the review, we do have to play the Rotten Tomatoes game, which we do every single time we review a movie.
Yes, sir.
Tomato.
This is where the other guys are going to guess the audience score and the critics score. And whoever gets the closest to both without going over will be declared the winner. Pretty simple. Who wants to kick it off?
I got you. Okay. All right. Viewers, moviegoers are going to say, I hear it already, 93%.
Okay.
93%. And then critics, you know what? Critics are going to come in here and they're going to be like, this was a great movie. It had all the good beats. There's a special tone to it. They're going to put in their buzzwords and stuff. And so I'm going to say 90, but I'm going to say 91 for the buzzwords.
So are you saying 90 or 91?
I'm going to say 91.
Okay. So that was 93, 91?
Correct.
All right.
I'm going to give audience 92 and critics 88. Oh, no. 86.
Okay. We have an interesting situation. At 303 reviews, the critics have decided to this point it's an 84%.
Damn.
Oh.
Should have went lower.
Very. And then the audience score over 5,000 verified ratings is a 95.
Yes.
So that would mean that Marco would win.
Let's go.
I think, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
That's right.
I went over
point.
on the
Good stuff.
That fucking point, Tyler.
Take it. It's fine.
Good game. So this movie, the Saturday update is that it's sitting at 84 million here, and it's the 10th highest opening day ever. So
Damn.
bump that up a little bit.
Wow. Okay.
It's doing really well, but how good is it? Were the critics right? Is it good but not great? Or is the audience right? And is this bordering on a classic? We're doing full spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, you can listen to the most recent episode of our main show, which is posted everywhere. And closer to the beginning of that episode, we talked about our spoiler free thoughts. So are there, use them, they're your friend. Let's just kick it right off. I think that this movie, while my feelings are complicated and I need to see it again, I think this movie is phenomenal. I think it was absolutely incredible. I think so much credit goes to that cast and crew for being able to make a movie that is able to celebrate and mourn a man who was important to them as an actor, but also as a character. The tightrope that they walked to pull that off and still make something enjoyable was remarkable to me. Um, I expected to, cry a lot and really have an emotional reaction, and I did. It was very emotional throughout. It was intense. I think that made it a better movie going experience because there was so much at play. It felt like I was doing more than watching a movie. And I never really had that feeling before. It was unique.
There's definitely another layer here besides the actual text of the movie
Yeah.
that is about the actors. It's
Yep.
about the production. Yeah, I agree. Especially that the opening scene into the Marvel crawl
Yeah.
Was rough in a good way, not like bad rough, but
Yeah.
like oh, they went straight for it. My theater had one trailer beforehand,
What?
and then it went straight into
The movie?
the movie, and I was like, it was like
Whoa.
whiplash for me. I was like, what? Oh,
That's
that's
cool.
Shuri. Oh shit. Okay, all right, we're into this. I went to like a small theater nearby, like a little art house theater. So
Okay,
that
sure.
like kids run it. So like they probably didn't know to put the rest of the trailers on. So
I think, yeah, I agree. This film was strong out the gate, strong in its start. I was worried we were going to sort of meander to get to the death, but I appreciated that, this is what it is. This is the reality of the situation. You've been confronted by it already. You've mourned to some degree in like personally. This is how we're going to be out the gate mourning for these characters, and I thought that was appropriate. Like let's clear the air there so we can collectively just like sigh, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was really curious as to how they were going to handle that because none of the promotional material you could tell from the promotional material that T'Challa was dead, but we didn't know how or why. Like it's kind of unfortunate that like Endgame would have given them Infinity War gives them an easy out if they never bring him back in Endgame. But because he came back there, they have to kill him off screen.
yeah,
Which
Yeah.
was a little bit awkward. It was awkward not to be able to see him, just to see that everyone was freaking out because he was dying. Focusing it on Shuri and Queen Ramonda's reaction was smart. I don't know
Yes.
how else you really could have done it, but not being able to see him at all, not seeing him fall in battle, knowing that he fell to an unknown disease, it disconnected me from it. But it didn't bother me. It made sense. It wasn't bad. I don't know how else they could have done it.
I actually liked that part of it. I liked how it was hectic. It's like oh shit. I don't like the characters don't know what's going on. The characters
Right.
are in a state of panic, and that you feel that in that scene. I like the fact that it's some unnamed disease that kind of got him. I was also curious to see if like they could have just said it was actually cancer. Like named it cancer.
I wish they would have actually.
I kind of wish a bit too. Because
Yeah.
like I even the Marvel universe is this fantastical world. Them not having the cure for cancer just seems like something that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was that scene in particular was great. Yeah, great in in the fact that it was well made.
Well
That it
executed,
was
yeah,
done.
absolutely.
And I'm happy they didn't go like the route of like, I don't know, like showing him in silhouette or showing him
Right.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
CG'd or something like that. Like it's not like, no offense, but it's not about him anymore. It's
Yeah.
about what the impact he made and the people that are left behind.
Well, I think even beyond, it being about him or not, I think it was just respectful
Sure.
of everybody who, is dealing with it. I don't think that, pulling a Star Wars with it, I think it would have been cheap. Um, I don't think that would have felt right. I think doing it in a way where they're mourning him and they're grieving him, and I mean, they showed him a lot, right? Like he's there's that whole montage of all of Shuri's memories with him and stuff like that. That was very, very touching. Um, they didn't do it overboard. It wasn't overboard by any means. But what I didn't want to see was like whenever Shuri went to the that other realm, I didn't want, T'Challa's there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We can
Yeah.
we can come back and like talk to him and communicate, or even with when Ramonda ends up dying, I'm like, oh, I don't want her to be someone you can just like, hey, what's up?
Right. Like the fact that it was Killmonger, which, we're all over the place, but the fact that it was Killmonger was awesome.
So cool.
But I think using Chadwick in any other way than what they did would have rubbed some people the wrong way.
Sure.
And also the fact that Shuri is not at his bedside when it happens is important for what she goes through.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. She doesn't have the chance to say goodbye.
Yep.
Again. Because of Endgame or Infinity War.
Oh, sure. That's right. Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about that. They used that time difference, the 5 years lost, really well, I thought. It was subtle, but they used it really well. They used it to establish that, you know, well, I mean, they used it in a very, very major way towards the end of the movie, but they used it with Nakia a lot. That she was gone for 5 years, that she left after T'Challa got snapped. She couldn't handle it. She was gone that whole time.
Yeah, and I like how they tied that into her coming back as well, or at least for this death. Like it makes sense, she said her goodbyes in her way already.
Right.
Why return? I'm like, oh damn, actually, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
It also
And-
kind of explains away her missing from Infinity War because they were in Wakanda for that.
Right.
I
Right.
just think Lupita Nyong'o is just probably the best actress in this movie, and one of the better actresses in the MCU proper. But like, why she just wasn't available for that movie? So
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense. I really like how they utilized that. I thought that was all effective and well done. I kept thinking like, well, hold on, isn't Shuri Riri Williams' age, sort of? And then I remembered, like, no, she's 5 years older than the last time we saw her. She's not a kid.
she wasn't snapped either.
Oh,
Right?
No, that was actually a huge question mark going into the movie, was what happened to Shuri in the intervening time. And they actually never dealt with that. It was weird that they never said she wasn't snapped, but they never said she was snapped. She was missing. And then they never addressed where she was or what she did. But clearly she has grown and matured and aged, and that plays into the movie, but they don't harp on that by reminding you constantly that she's 5 years older than the last time we saw her.
sure.
So I thought that was all really well done. Yeah.
And I don't think that they needed to necessarily address that. Like, it didn't play anything for the movie. It didn't have any importance ultimately. So I think the fact that she's just there and it's like, okay, cool. Like this is our POV now. We're fine.
Right. I thought the tribute to him, to Chadwick, in the beginning, where or I should say to T'Challa, where they have the ceremony and then he gets beamed up. I thought that was all really good and touching. I felt like maybe it felt a little too small scale. Um, I thought that the king of Wakanda passing, like it would be this enormous thing, and it wasn't.
I think that's one of the first things that I realized. We probably had this conversation. I think about the first Black Panther movie and one of the final battles, but
Yes.
the scale of a lot of what goes on in these movies just does not feel apropos for the context that they're happening in. Like to your point, I felt that immediately. I mean, oh, it's just one street down that we're walking T'Challa down. No, whereas like I'm thinking of when Padme
Yeah.
um like when Padme dies or something, like this whole ensemble, this whole set, and we didn't have that. We didn't have the last battle, for example. I had problems with because of just the size. We're on this one
Scale.
boat,
Yeah.
right? So I think that was the first thing that I noticed in from that perspective. I'm like, oh, there could have been a bit more to make this feel fuller and more realized. Again, there's no issue from like a quality standpoint. It's just the way that it appears and comes off. I think wasn't as proper for what I was expecting.
I wonder if that's just a side effect because this was filmed during COVID. I mean, infamously filmed during COVID.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's a side effect of that. I would have liked to see the necropolis. Like it's a big Wakandan landmark,
Yeah.
Sure.
Word. That's a good point.
which is apparently doesn't exist. They have a forest, and then they send the coffin to somewhere.
They have a forest.
It goes. I don't know where the coffin went. It got beamed up.
Beat me up, Scotty.
Sure.
Yo, that's all I could think about.
um. Yeah. So immediately, I was like, this doesn't feel quite right. This feels a little bit small scale.
Yeah.
But the sentiment was there. It got the point across, and then we were pretty much right into the story of the movie. They belabored it a lot less time than I thought they would, and I thought that was smart for a movie that's very long. It's 2 hours and 41 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
For a movie that's very long, very little time is actually spent talking about T'Challa being dead, and the fact, like the moments where they discuss it are driving the characters and story forward, not just belaboring the point of his being dead.
Since you're bringing up the run length of this, 2 hours and 41 minutes,
Yeah.
I gotta say, I felt it in this. I felt the length.
Did
I
you
felt like
appreciate
there's-
the length though?
No. I feel like a lot of this movie there are bits here that are very slow. And I understand that the main theme is grief, so you got to let things breathe. But I felt that runtime. I feel like there are parts of this movie that are honestly kind of boring. I think like the whole Everett Ross stuff, like those felt like deleted scenes that weren't cut. Like he just needed to be there for what, a white representation of.
I'll challenge that after. Go ahead.
But that's just one example. But I just feel like a lot of it is like the whole stuff with Shuri in Talokan, like that stuff treads water. Not pun intended. But they stay on it for a while.
They do, and I felt that, but I appreciated it because while it was happening, I was reminded and I felt the same sensation that I did when we were first introduced to Wakanda and we had that slow moment of this is the city you're exploring and giving context for the environments and the population, and you're trying to find this semblance of wonder, which I think it hit for me for a little bit. Some of the special effects didn't sell it all the way for me. Like it looked like we were just floating in water, and some of those people are just kind of like there.
It also made me realize, like, just anatomically, this makes no sense.
Yes, right. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Like humans don't have the body type to be swimming around and shit like this.
Yeah,
like
they
this
will
doesn't
not
make
get
sense.
anywhere fast. Everyone
Yeah.
is at a
Exactly.
leisurely stroll in this world.
But
Give
I
them,
gave
like,
it.
Would web fingers have been a big deal? Like then, all right. I'm just saying.
No, and I felt that as well, but I gave it the pass because I'm like, okay, I understand the function, and it's giving me this feeling. It's not complete and not fully satisfying because of the visuals, but I can understand and I can see it. And I had a few instances where I'm like, oh, I see the cogs turning for some of
Yeah.
like the scenes and for some of the honestly even for some of the interactions. But in that moment I gave it grace. I see your point and I think I partially agree with it, but I gave it grace because I was inspired enough.
Uh, I, I've seen a lot of the criticism of the runtime. It is a very long MCU entry. I'm never going to complain about a movie being long
Same.
because for me, if something is good, it's good, and I don't care that it's long. Obviously, you're saying you didn't think it was good when you felt it was long, and that it could have been shorter.
I feel like a more I guess synthesized version of this could have been a better movie.
My problem is that I don't see how you get there because, and this is something that the movie can't control, but Chadwick not being there meant that you had to repeat a beat from the
Fair.
first one that you wouldn't have had to repeat, which is Shuri becoming the Black Panther.
Sure.
That didn't have to happen if T'Challa's still alive, but he's not, so it did. You also had the morning of T'Challa, which the movie wouldn't have had. So there's definitely stuff that's there that literally shouldn't be there, except that it has to be there. And I don't know how you get around that. But then
Yeah.
you mentioned the Everett Ross stuff, and I have to say I feel like that stuff's essential
I'm not
because
saying you need
go
to
ahead.
cut it. I'm just saying you can make little cuts here and there. Like Nakia's whole discovery of where Talokan is, like it's necessary. Did it need to be that long? I don't think so. Um,
I think you needed to know though that A, it wasn't easy to get to,
sure.
and that B, there are people who exist on the surface of Earth that know something about this. Because otherwise she wouldn't even be able to get there. How would she even get there?
I think you could do that in half the time though.
How?
She has two interactions with this woman, like the I guess Mexican woman, and like there's like the interaction where she's like, oh well, I need to sort of know about this. I'm playing coy, and then into, oh all right, I need you to really tell me the shit. You know, like there are little bits out of a lot of scenes that I think you can just shave off a bit. It's like when I'm making a TikTok where it's like, all right, I'm at 61 seconds. I need it to be 60 seconds. I can find a word or here that I can cut out, you know,
Sure.
to make things a little more cleaner. I think that was that and Letitia Wright were my main issues with this movie. But
What was your problem with Letitia Wright?
she got outacted by everyone in this movie. Angela Bassett, Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, Tena Huerta, honestly. I found even Riri Williams, the actress Dominique Thorne, I think was more just was better than Letitia Wright. And not that she's a bad actress, but her and essentially the lead of this movie was outclassed by everyone else, in my opinion.
I think her and the Riri Williams actress in particular felt like they in comparison, but you also have in comparison these phenomenal actors, you know?
Yeah. It just feels like the casting of Letitia Wright was for Shuri. It was not for the Black Panther. And this her being the lead of this movie is circumstance. It was not meant to happen, as far as I can tell. And because of that, she's kind of in deep water, and I think it's visible in this movie.
Well, I agree with that. I think that that's pretty undeniable that obviously she wasn't intended for this role, and had they cast the role knowing that this would happen, they obviously there would have been more consideration. I'm not saying they wouldn't have gone with her, but there would have been more consideration. She's surrounded by phenomenally talented actors, and this is very much an ensemble movie. One of the problems that I had with this movie, one of the very few in comparison to the first one, is that it feels like it doesn't have a main character because Shuri doesn't feel like the main character. She is, but T'Challa is. And so while we follow her emotional arc primarily, there's so much other stuff going on. It's easy to lose track of her, especially when we're used to her being, number three behind T'Challa and behind Killmonger.
Sure.
So for her to now be number one was like, whoa. But then you also have, Queen Ramonda, who for the first half of the movie, you could make an argument
Yeah.
that she's the main character.
I think so.
And I think that's what makes this movie interesting. Is that, yeah, okay, Letitia Wright, not the best actor, and Shuri, we're not fully sold on her as being the driving force behind Wakanda, but she's surrounded by all these talented actors, all these talented women whose characters have arcs that we care about because they were treated with respect in the first one. So when they're elevated, it's not weird. It's not weird to me that Okoye has a character arc because I already like her. It's not weird to me that Ramonda has a character arc because I already like her. I think they did a great job of balancing things out, maybe or maybe not knowing that they didn't have a Chadwick Boseman anymore, in terms of that. So yeah, I mentioned that a lot of the first half is based around Ramonda, and that is the case. She is the queen. She's mourning the loss of her son, which for me was hard to. It was hard to. I almost struggled with that more than I struggled with Shuri.
Yeah, me too.
Because she also lost her husband not that long ago. She's had to take on so much. That's a lot of grief. A mother losing their child, that's brutal. That's really brutal. And then she's also go ahead.
I was gonna say, and by the end of the movie, by the mid credits, we realized, oh, she even had more on her plate than we even realized.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Yes.
So yeah, it's in a strange way. Looking back on it, you can see Angela Bassett just playing that too.
Sure.
She goes a whole hog in this movie. It's like pure Angela Bassett, and I loved it. Angela Bassett is one of those people that really acts with her mouth real well. I think there's like a TikTok about mouth actors. But it's all the emotions, like all in the face. That one that speech she gives at the UN, is it, or like the new UN or whatever the hell it is. Very good. It's great stuff.
Completely agreed. She put it all out there, and I think this movie needed phenomenal performances like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but I think that like Black Panther 1 had those too. That's one of the things that makes this movie arguably better. I'm not gonna lie. Like I need to see it again, but I might feel stronger about it. And a lot of that has to do with the performances. I mean, my goodness, like Okoye was phenomenal in this movie.
She was good. Yeah.
They did the right thing with her in this movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They made her fun. No, that's what she was lacking. That was
she's a little too serious. Yeah.
That's her arc in this.
I think I like that she is serious. I was worried that they were gonna play into it a little too much and make her kind of like not as like too goofy.
Right.
And she just kind of be played for laughs the whole time. But I'm glad they didn't lean into it in that direction as much.
I definitely agree. I think there was a kind of corny, and they didn't do that. Sending her and Shuri off on that adventure was really smart because in the first movie they do that, but it's with T'Challa, and T'Challa and Okoye are both serious. So there are definitely fun moments there, but they're both a straight man. In this instance, Shuri is more of a comedy character. Her interplay with Riri Williams is awesome, and Okoye is the comedic foil as the straight person, which I thought was all really well done.
Not to shift characters, but Riri Williams, more likable and more of a character than she is in the comics in this movie.
Stole the show to me. I really loved.
She was great.
She was fun. A lot of fun.
you know, like seeing a character who has an accent like that, who's from Chicago like that, you know, from the hood of Chicago. She didn't grow up rich or anything like that. That was awesome for me. That was really, really cool. And they just let her be her. More what that kind of person would be like in real life here in this movie than the version in the comics. Like she's tough. She's tough, she's smart, but she's hood, she's crafty, she's a hustler. You know, like she's hustling these white college kids out of their money doing their homework for them.
Yo,
And she's
a
a
K?
genius.
A whole band
Sorry?
out of that guy?
Yep.
Yeah,
Damn,
that was
those
good.
MIT
For
kids
her
are.
homework. Hell yeah.
That's where the money is, Tyler.
Yeah,
Gotta go to
I
school
guess.
and shake down some kids.
One thing about not about her character, but maybe more the way she was used is that, you know, this movie's got it's all based around this MacGuffin, the machine that she built.
Yeah.
And I have questions about that. First of all, why did she build this machine?
Was it her metallurgy class or something?
Yeah, her teacher challenged her,
Yeah.
right? Okay. How did she know that this would work?
I was curious,
How do you
like,
test it?
well, how do you test it? Because you need to have a vibranium somewhere, but I'm assuming it's not just walking around wherever.
It's
So
not.
how is she gonna know that it works if they
Okay.
don't have anything to test? She's just gonna say, "Well, yeah, I built the thing, and I promise you it is."
And how did
trust me, bro?
Right.
and how did the French get it?
Well,
Well,
the
they
US
built
got
it. The US got it.
But then the French had it. Or the
No.
French no, the US used it. Right. It was the
Yeah,
US that
yeah,
used it.
yeah.
How did they get it?
That's what well, I guess they have hooks in MIT, which I don't doubt, honestly.
Yeah.
I know our current U.S. government is probably looking at those robot dogs like, yo, we can fuck up a lot of destabilized countries with those things.
I wish they would have spent a little bit more time connecting those dots. Because for me it very much felt like something to bring all these characters together machine. And I hate stuff like that, especially because of how pivotal it was to the overall film.
Mm.
I really would have liked it if she was an exchange student from the school that they ended up opening, or like that community thing that they opened up
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
end of the first one, just to have that bridge. This
I liked,
intro for her was a little clunky, I thought.
but I also like that she wasn't an exchange student. She is the diaspora that Killmonger talked about. You know, she kind of embodies that.
Exactly.
So I like how she was a little more removed from Wakanda, almost like a good version of Killmonger, like a more
But
positive version of that.
But that's what I mean. That she comes from America.
Yeah,
She's getting the treatment that Killmonger never got by
Yeah.
being allowed inside.
true.
So I kind of wish they would have done that a little differently, but all the interplay with her was awesome. Every scene she was in, I was just waiting to see what she was going to do or say next. Whenever she got into the Ironheart costume for the first time, that shit was awesome. My crowd sucked. Only the person next to me popped for Ironheart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tired of the whole in the suit view.
Yeah, oh, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a lot of those. I'm just like, all right.
Yeah, it's been done to death.
Yeah.
For her, I was less bothered because, like, it's an Iron Man suit. But with the Midnight Angels, that was just like, okay, you don't need this. Is unnecessary. Please stop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The I will say I did like the action sequences, considering like I wasn't sure how they were going to incorporate that with Shuri, and I think that went pretty well. There was definitely the moment where she hops on the motorcycle. I'm like, could she do all this? She feels like a princess who's locked up in her lab all the time. I don't know that she's field operative ready to that same degree, which took me out of it for a hot second. But otherwise, there were a lot of just good moments with the three of them running away, them fighting alongside each other. Those were fun.
I agree with you on the. I had the same thought about like, is Shuri can do all this,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I tried to keep in mind that like there's 5 years worth of character development and stuff that they've done and been through that we never saw.
sure, yeah,
So I just filled in the blanks, and I was appreciative of the fact that like, yeah, she's a princess, and I love the way that like Okoye was so protective over her.
hmm
Um, and I felt that like the way she's like, kind of wearing a hoodie and she's trying to slink around and not be noticed. That felt very cool to me. But then the fact that she's also a bit of a badass in her own right and capable, I enjoyed all that stuff.
yeah, same. I think it paid off ultimately.
Yeah. We haven't talked about Namor or the Talokan, not Atlantis. They didn't want to do that because
Finally.
Aquaman came out first. They beat them to the punch. Even though Black Panther was in production first. Um,
I did not like the name reveal.
go on.
It's a little tongue in cheek.
Oh,
Very tongue.
Namor, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Very,
What
very
is
tongue in
it? What
cheek.
is the phrase? Do you remember the phrase?
See
Uh,
Namor.
yeah, the whatever something without love, the king without love or
The
something,
child without love, I think it was.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It
A little
felt
cute.
yeah, too cutesy.
It was a Martha moment.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
I liked it though.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was like, oh, okay, sure, why not?
I think it worked, but I don't think that was the preference for like the name, like the fact that they attached it to a word in Spanish. I'm like, all right, fine, but because it doesn't seem like it would be otherwise. So it didn't feel forced, which I appreciated, but it was just too on the nose for me.
I do like Kukulkan. I think that's a fun name.
That was
Anytime
cool.
anyone said that, I was like, oh, that sounds pretty fucking cool. I gotta
That's
say.
dope, dude.
I
Yeah.
loved that. That was awesome. And I wish like the whole Namor thing. First of all, there were douchebags on social media saying, wow, they got this guy to play Namor and he can't even pronounce his own name.
Eh,
Um, Unbelievably dumb. But I agreed when I was listening down his name. I was like, oh, okay. I'm way past the point of needing comic book characters to explain the comic book stuff. Like it is what it is. My name is Namor. Deal with that.
right.
Um, that being said, Namor was perfect.
Dude, I loved it. He was
Yep.
scene chewy, and I love that because that's fucking Namor.
Like
that character scene chews in the comics constantly. This
that's
is a
who
guy
he is.
I can see cucking Reed Richards.
People were complaining that he wasn't a douche. He wasn't enough of a douchebag, and that he was too nice. I think people missed the point. This Namor that we saw in this movie, right? This is Namor in Talokan, where he loves everybody that's there,
hmm
and Wakanda, where he's trying to align himself with them. So the Namor that you know who's a douchebag, that's not the Namor that's in this movie, simply because he's not exposed to the people that he will be a douchebag to.
Well, I was also say he's also just like a tactical leader. Like he's not gonna like yeah, he approaches with threats and showing off that he's a big dude and can throw his weight around, but he's also not gonna just be outright, oh, I'm an asshole to these people. He'll be firm and strong with them, but he's not gonna be a dick.
He was looking for
Namor's-
allies. He wasn't
Yeah.
looking for enemies.
Right.
Namor's
Right.
whole thing is that he's tactical, even in the comics. He's
Yeah, of course.
tactical until his anger gets the best of him, and we saw glimpses of that here. That I loved. I thought he was great as Namor. Namor's a tricky thing too because the main characters he interacts with don't exist in the MCU currently. You
Yeah.
know,
Sure.
and same for Black Panther. Honestly, Black Panther, the two biggest things that Black Panther in the comics interacted with were the Fantastic Four and Storm, which don't exist in the MCU currently. So it's funny though, we can possibly see that going forward, with what was revealed at the end here. But yeah, Namor's great. How they managed to make the winged feet, which is the dorkiest aspect of Namor,
So cool.
cool, was wild.
Yeah.
And when Shuri rips one of the wings off and like he's like freaking out, the fact that he actually says I'm a mutant, it was like, oh, that's the first time anyone said that.
But it didn't mean that.
It didn't mean that,
Right.
but it did. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it did
It's
it,
not
but
the
it didn't.
first.
Well, the word mutant has never been used yet, as far as I know. They've said mutated and mutation, but the noun I don't think has been used yet.
Did Miss Marvel not? I thought Miss Marvel did.
No,
I think it just said mutation, actually, now
He
that you
says
say
there's
that,
like a
Tyler.
mutation in your genes, and then
Okay.
it's like "Da-na-na-na-na-na," you know.
Yeah.
I was half expecting that to hear that riff once. He said
Oh
mutant.
yeah, when he said that, imagine. Been good.
Yeah.
Like seeing this
yeah,
actor with a Magneto down the line, like oh man,
that's gonna be sick.
It's so cool.
hyped.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy he's still around. Like that, I was afraid they'll do the Marvel shit where like oh they kill him by the end.
I was worried
Like
for that.
no, they're saving him. He's gonna be in something else.
He's gonna be a good wild card.
Yep.
He's not, because clearly he's not good or bad. He's looking out for his interests in the best the best way he thinks is possible and doable. And so for me, he looks like somebody who is going to exist in the world to be like, oh, actually, it's Tuesday. I'm going to fuck up this because I disagree with whatever it might be. I don't like the fact that Spider-Man saved this lady today, right? And I feel like he can be that kind of asshole character you just have to kind of deal with, but you can't get rid of. This feels like a staple character now.
Namor's use in this movie is perfect proof that Black Adam just wasn't good. Because Namor and Black Adam are essentially the same character. And here, Namor feels powerful, fierce. He feels like a leader. They made him feel like exactly like he's supposed to feel in the comics. Black Adam, it's like it's a little cheesy, a little goofy, a little dumb. And that's because he had to be the main character in that movie. And he had to be played by The Rock. For Namor, they went and got a random guy and a tremendous actor. I'm not trying to say like, oh, he's a bad actor, but like random in the sense that in the public eye, this is not an actor that we are overwhelmingly aware of.
Yeah.
And now he can embody this character and they can make it, or he can do what they need him to do without being concerned about how it'll affect his future roles, like The Rock might be thinking. Namor was they made him like a god. They made him a god.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so smart. A human god. I love it.
And like they kept his whole like oh he's ancient, you know, they kept that whole
Yeah.
aspect of him. I like how they're really leading into like there's gonna be some geopolitical event that happens.
Yep. Very much.
You have the U.S. involved. You have
France.
Wakanda, France, Telecon, Latveria. I'm still saying it. It's in there in the background. Like it's there's too much going on to be like all right they're not gonna seed that somewhere. I think Thunderbolts is where we'll probably see some more of that.
Yeah.
But actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Thunderbolts is the U.S.'s attack on Wakanda to get vibranium. But
Well, in fact, there's we haven't spoken too much about Valentina Allegra de Fontaine,
Elaine,
played
I
by
can't see it. I can't unsee it.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus. They're definitely seeding stuff in this movie for that. She's asked at some point by Everett Ross, like, can you imagine what we would have done, what the U.S. would have done if we were the only people that had access to vibranium? And she said, that's my dream.
That shit, when she said that, I was like, oh,
Yo, please, bro.
yo, I popped off like, holy shit.
Nah, man.
And this is what I love so much about Marvel movies is that the A plot of this movie is this crazy, like, you know, war between two nations and all this wild stuff. And in the background of that, there's also this crazy low-key geopolitical major problem
Loki's
that's
in this?
brewing. Unfortunately, not. Although we can't prove it. He could have been anybody. He can shapeshift. But there's also this whole other thing that's brewing behind the scenes that's not going to resolve now, but we know it's coming. I love that.
Yep.
So fun. Which, by the way, is Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character not one of the best ongoing characters in the MCU right now?
She's the new Nick Fury. She's evil Nick Fury.
Evil Nick Fury, yeah. The evil versions of characters are popping up. Like this is technically the evil Black Panther at this point,
yes.
Right? Yep. Like, now we have evil Wanda. This is evil Nick Fury, and I'm trying to think through. We have evil Cap.
We were getting the anti-archetypes now.
Yeah, right. We're getting all of those, and so that's been interesting because
we're getting a Doctor Strange, an evil Doctor Strange in the Hood coming up. He could possibly be that, which is weird. That's where Riri story is going, which wild.
Huh. Yeah, they're just setting up a lot, and it's cool to see.
Yeah, I thought her scenes were phenomenal. Maybe that's why I was more tolerant of the Everett Ross stuff, because I thought she was so good in everything that they did. Like the way she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm your ex-wife, and I just wanted to ride with you so I could apologize for."
Yeah,
that was a little much. That new a seed of information, really.
But she was playing him,
right?
That's why I liked it.
Yeah.
And he didn't even realize that, and he's an FBI agent, and she worked him over.
The fact that he found the bead so easily, I'm like, all right, did nobody pick that up? Whatever, but you just whatever. Yep. And I'm like, oh, she's like, well, yeah, I've been following you since literally minute 1. I got you. I was like, damn, I got played.
Yup.
So what happens with him at the end of the movie? Does he live in Wakanda now? Is that where he lives?
Yeah, I think so. They stole him. Like,
I guess.
Yeah, but isn't he going to be in Secret Invasion? Like, haven't we gotten that confirmation already?
I don't recall, and we don't know when Secret Invasion takes place.
Well, he can still be in it, right?
That's fair.
And they could find a way to get him in there if they need to. But
true.
I thought all her stuff was awesome. I can't wait to see where that goes. But back to so I want to like get on my soapbox real quick, if you guys will allow me, because I want to talk about why I think this movie is so brilliant, and I want to do that within the context of the way that they set up the war between Wakanda and Talokan.
Sorry, Sean. Were you assuming that we were just going to let you get on your soapbox? Was that the expectation?
I was hoping for that.
Oh, okay. But okay, yeah. Sorry, proceed.
Thank you.
I wasn't gonna I wasn't gonna fight it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I like when you guys let me do what I want. So to me, this is all brilliant because Ryan Coogler was subtly talking about the ways in which minority groups are pitted against each other for the interests of the dominant culture.
Yep.
In this movie, Wakanda and Talokan go to war because America is trying to steal the resource of Talokan. It's not just a resource, right? Let's say diamonds, right? We all have heard about blood diamonds. We understand that Black people are enslaved and forced to mine these diamonds for the global interests, right? Everybody loves diamonds. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. That led to Black people enslaving other Black people. Look up the Republic of Congo. Like, that's what's happening for diamonds. That's what's going on. So that resource led to the enslavement of these people. In this movie, vibranium is that resource for Wakandans, and it is that resource for Wakanda. If America is able to get access to vibranium, what do you think that means for these two nations? That's destroying who they are. The Talokan are born of vibranium. That's why they exist. Vibranium is what allows Wakanda to be the powerful nation that it is. Keep in mind, Wakanda sealed itself off from the world in order to keep their secrets, in order to keep that stuff to themselves. The Talokan stay in the water because when Namor came to the surface world for the first time since he was a child, what he saw was slavery. So both cultures have fear-based ways of protecting themselves because they are afraid of what will happen when the dominant culture finds out who they are and what they have. It's not just cultural, it's their identity, the vibranium that they have. Vibranium separates Wakandan black people from black people around the world. And it's a part of why they kept black people away because they're different. They went through slavery and they don't have any interaction with vibranium. So both cultures, very powerful, but afraid of what happens when the rest of the world knows about them, are trying to keep their secrets. Namor is the same as T'Challa was, and he's this and the same as T'Challa's father was. They will kill to keep their secrets. That's why Killmonger was so pissed. But they're doing it for the protection of their people. Namor is willing to kill the Queen of Wakanda to protect the secrets of Talokan and aggressively defend his people. And so they have to go to war. Minority groups get pitted against each other all the time. It happens constantly. What's happening right now with people saying, oh, how come Kanye only got canceled because he said stuff about Jews? What about what he says about black people? You know, all this stuff that happens. I love the way that Ryan Coogler played off of all of that to build this story between these two rich, culturally rich nations whose biggest fear in the world is being colonized. They're as powerful as any nation has ever been, and the one thing they're worried about is being colonized.
You saying that makes me kind of miss what T'Challa versus Namor could have been.
Yep.
But hey, I guess we could still have that in the future.
Theoretically, yes, you're right. Sorry, that I just had to get that off my chest because I think it was
That
so
makes
brilliant
sense.
the way that was executed. What'd you say, Tyler?
That's a similar theme as what Killmonger versus T'Challa was.
Yep.
It is just it's a different side of the same coin with this dynamic here.
Go ahead.
He's chewing on something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see that.
I hear.
No,
Should we come back to you or?
you come back to me. Yeah, come back to me.
Okay. The fact that they changed the origin of Atlantis to tie it into Aztec and Mayan culture was also another stroke of brilliance. That's a real thing that I've heard before, that if Atlantis were to be real, those would probably have been the people who would have been the Atlanteans. But that's just a rumor, and obviously Atlantis isn't real anyway, but I've seen that in the past. So
here on the Comics Pals, we cannot rule out that Atlantis doesn't actually exist.
Fair enough.
Just saying.
Fair
I don't
enough.
want, in the future, if Atlanteans are real, they listen to this. Let's just say we didn't rule you out.
So taking that that kernel of truth and then injecting that into the story, I think was awesome. But it also made them culturally similar to Wakanda, which obviously they never stopped showing us the similarities between them, the hand gestures and things like that.
And also just visually seeing Talokan and like I have it on the stream, which you guys can't see yet. But Namor's headdress that he wears, just made it look cool.
The music that played during his during the war cry and these, which was a little weird because it felt like throat singing. That's like some Mongolian throat singing stuff. I'm like, I don't know any.
That's what I learned during quarantine. Yeah.
And but those sequences with that music, phenomenal. Where he's just coming down and these deep, just droning sounds. It's just voice. It's powerful. It took up it just felt like it took up space, and he takes up space as that kind of character. He's He's coming down onto the throne, and he is this force to be reckoned with. And I thought that was felt and communicated very, very well.
Hell yeah. They did such a good job with his presentation across the board. You're totally right. The way that he calls everybody his child, like almost like a priest would, but he's not the connector to God. He is the God.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's born in the 1600s or whatever that was. Like that was sick.
Gore's lucky he didn't get to Namor before Thor got I think Namor would have fucking wrecked that dude.
The Atlanteans were presented really well too. They were kind of like alien and creepy. I thought all that was really well done. I love the fact that we got Namora and Atuma.
Oh, I love Atuma. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so cool. They never referred to Namora as Namor's cousin. I doubt they'll address that.
I thought they did. I thought I heard.
Oh,
him
did I
say
miss
cousin.
that?
Yeah, I thought I heard him say cousin at one point.
Oh, really?
All right.
I don't know
Yeah,
that.
I think so. Or I saw it in text. I could have just
Okay.
thought it. I don't know. That's for sure. But yeah.
That's some cousin. You're born in the 1600s. You're gonna call someone born 30 years ago your cousin.
Oh yeah, so they live normal lot time spans. It's just him that lives extended, right?
It's part of
as
his
far as
mutation,
I
yeah.
understood.
Okay.
And that's because he was born with the vibranium inside of him, I guess, right? Like
Yeah.
she ingested it while she was pregnant.
Right,
Well,
right.
in the comics, it's that way because he's a mutant. That's like part of his
Right.
mutant ability. Yeah.
okay.
And I actually think that's what it is. I just think he doesn't know that.
Sure.
Like it's kind of weird that because a lot of them obviously are born from people who are Talokan. Why don't they have that too? Why don't they have the wings? I think it's because he's a mutant.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And I also
okay.
like that last scene with him and Namora, where she's like a little like doubting him a bit, but he kind of reveals like his grand plan. He's like, "Oh yeah, well, we're just doing this for now, you know." Seen Chewie Namor, love it. That's the best shit. But also B, it's like, oh well, Namora, not fully trusting him. Like there is doubt involved, and I feel like Atuma would also have doubt, and like Atuma is. Like he becomes like a villain for Namor.
Right.
So, and that dude is huge. The actor. Have you seen that actor at San Diego Comic Con? That dude is like close to 7 foot. The guy's
I
massive.
haven't, but the character Atuma was huge. I was like, holy shit!
Yeah. That
I
dude's
thought it was
huge.
CG.
No, that man is big.
Wow. Well, let's talk about some of the action because we haven't spoken about I wanted to highlight the action sequence in Wakanda. I thought Wakanda overall in this movie was underutilized, and I'm not sure why that is. But the scene where Namor brings Talokan to Wakanda to fight, that was, oh my God, that was
real
rough.
cool.
That was brutal. And it's worth pointing out that they've probably never had to do a military operation. So not
Wait, who?
the Talokan. Because they don't
Kind of,
interact
yeah.
with the surface
Oh,
world.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So the fact that they were so clean with that, like it was so smooth and perfect, was impressive. But it's worth keeping in mind, like they have the power of the water on their side. Like, how do you beat that?
Distinct lack of usage of tentacle-based creatures or sharks. It was like exclusively whales. I'm like,
Agreed.
Is that a mammal thing? Is that a little?
There's a jellyfish in there.
True. Was that jellyfish working with the Talokans? That was the question.
Yo, whatever that sound was that was pulling people into the water,
That was
Oh,
so
the
cool.
classic siren mythology too.
that was
that's the siren's
crazy.
call.
Great idea. That was a very good idea.
Yeah, I thought
They
that
never
was-
showed the sirens though, right? Like I never.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, there
They
was.
did? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were just-
They,
Talokans. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it's,
I
just,
missed
it's
it.
a skill they have. Which if they can all do that, what the fuck are they doing? Like, what are they even fighting for?
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And again, like I had problems with the final fight scene, and a lot of it has to do with that stuff. Like, it just didn't make sense to me that the Wakandans would choose to fight the Talokan on a boat in the middle of the water where they're most powerful, which they already knew because Namor's a complete beast. And they literally would have lost if it wasn't for the fact that Shuri and Namor like made up. But the fight was over. They had 0.0 chance of winning that. And I don't think that there's any world in which they can win that.
Wasn't the plan to also take them to an island, like to meet them and fight them?
The plan was to take the water out of Namor.
Right.
So that he could be normal. That was the agenda. And to distract the Talokan while they did that. But they all would have died.
Right. Yes, they went in knowing that it was a death sentence because, dude, by the end of that battle, there was like 10 Wakandans left, like our main cast. They went through the entire army, the entire Dora Milaje, like everybody, and that was worth it.
Exactly, because if they succeeded and they killed Namor, Wakanda would be underwater. Like
Right.
they never would have won in any other way than Shuri's diplomacy and willingness to let go of her anger. I don't know. I thought it was too small scale for me. You're just on a boat. That's all we're gonna do.
Exactly.
Kind of neat.
Yeah.
Though.
Sorry.
I thought the choreography of it was pretty good though.
Oh yeah,
those water bombs, coolest shit ever.
Yeah,
dude. Oh my god. And can I also say I was about this, but I loved it. The use of slow motion in this movie, I thought was really cool.
It's not Black Adam levels
Of cool or bad?
of slow motion.
Okay,
The sheer
right.
amount of slow motion.
Period.
Yeah.
I thought it was used effectively. Like when the water bomb exploded, I think it was a water bomb, and Queen Ramonda went flying.
Yep. And she got sucked
Crazy.
into the
Crazy. Yeah, I think they could have done more showing the Talokan strengths and what else they have in their arsenal. But I think they did a good enough job giving us a taste because we're surely going to see them, many more times.
They're gonna come back. They're definitely coming back. All of these guys are that like we're set. This is the group.
we should probably talk about I want to talk about that mid-credit scene real quick.
Well, okay, all right, yeah, sure. So Shuri ends up going to go see Nakia, and she learns while she's there, and she's introduced to none other than her nephew.
Lil T'Challa.
Yeah.
I bet all those recast T'Challa people are either confused or they're like, well, I got what I wanted.
Well, I thought it was a very, very interesting way of solving that problem. So basically, he is the king because his father died. So technically, he's the king, but they want him from that and having to deal with all that. He's 6 years old, which makes sense if he was born when Infinity War happened, just after. Actually, no. Yeah.
Well, were they still together?
Yeah. They're together at the end of Black Panther.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
It's actually kind of sort of similar to what the real life Chadwick Boseman did, in that he got married in secret.
He eloped.
Yeah, because he wanted to marry his wife died.
Oh.
And so here they had a kid, and he set that all up. He set her up with a life out there, all that, and introduced his mother to her grandchild before he died. He knew he was dying. So I thought that was really cool. Fact that they're basically saying, hey, all this we're doing, we plan on going for a really long time. So if you stick around long enough, there will be a new T'Challa. It's basically the Nick Fury from the comics thing, where they replaced white Nick Fury with black Nick Fury, but black Nick Fury is white Nick Fury. Like every
I
personality trait you associate with white Nick Fury,
Oh,
black
I
Nick
see.
Fury embodies.
Okay.
And they talk about him in the same way. So when this kid gets old enough, or if they do a time jump or however they solve it, whenever that gets dealt with, we'll have T'Challa again.
Oh, I wonder if we can do a time jump anywhere. If only there were a character that deals with time that we're dealing with.
Huh?
Oh, oh,
Huh. If only.
yeah.
If
Interesting,
only.
Or
interesting
this
thought.
just adds more fuel to my Young Avengers theory. You know.
Yo, young Black Panther. Be cool.
I mean, in the comics, there was an alternate reality where Storm and Black Panther have a kid, Azari, I think his name is, who has like Black Panther. He has like his own modified Panther suit, and he's got like lightning powers at the same time. It's pretty cool.
So this is a new, in that case, young character that is invented for MCU. Like in whatchamacallit. Oh my god, I'm blanking on the
Thor:
name.
Love and Thunder,
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah.
Like Love. Oh, that's right. Duh.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, forgot what that is.
I love that. I thought that was a nice way to resolve that. Having now seen the movie, I am glad they didn't recast. I have changed my mind. I'm so sad that T'Challa is or that Chadwick is gone. Um, but I love that as a way of saying, "Hey, it's okay. Like life
Mm.
goes on, and we are our legacy as much as we are who we are." And T'Challa's like who he was, but who he left behind, and he left behind a son who will one day take on the mantle. And I love that, And maybe in 20 years, I'll have a kid, and I'll be able to say, "Hey, look, when I was younger, this character was created, and now he's like the main character of the Black Panther movies." That'll be pretty cool.
That'd be crazy, dude.
Yeah,
That'd be
this could go on that
crazy.
long. Yeah, we got to wrap up, so let's just give our final thoughts and our rating if you guys feel like you want to.
I'll go first. Final thoughts. I thought this was a fun movie. I thought that what they were able to do to close out the, I guess, the hanging thread with T'Challa and with Chadwick Boseman, done in a very respectful way, done in a way that honors his legacy and his work, the way that they carried on and continued the story of the mantle is really interesting, and there's some wrinkles there that I'm looking forward to examining in future films. New characters like Riri Williams were a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to more. This was a very positive movie experience for the MCU, especially coming out of the last few, where I want to say I was either lukewarm or it was like a fine film.
Mm-hmm.
This was, I cried like 3 times. Like it brought emotion out of me,
Man, I don't
and
cry
I
in
think
movies.
that Tyler
I lack emotion. I don't know.
and
Yeah, you're a different breed.
I think that counts for something. And so for me, this movie was like an 8.5. This was a 9. I'm gonna give it a 9. I'm gonna give it a 9. It's not perfect. There are things that we touched on from a like graphics perspective or a narrative end that could probably use a little work, but otherwise this was a tight film, done with love, done in a way to really remember the characters and address the story at large. So overall, I think well done.
Tyler?
For me, it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's a good movie. Um, I give it like a 7 on a 10 scale.
Okay.
Above average is what I would give it. I think pacing and the main character were my biggest issues. Not pacing as much as the time of it, the length of it, and feeling it, which I talked about. You listened to the review, you know what I had my gripes ready.
I'm gonna give it a 9.5. I reserve the right to
Wow.
change that if I see it again and feel less strongly about it.
Could you
But
feel
I
more
felt really,
strongly?
really strongly. Sorry, Tyler.
You ever give anything a 10?
Probably like Infinity War and Endgame.
That sounds right.
Yeah. I thought this was brilliant. So much work went into making this work. I think this could have easily been a disaster for a lot of different reasons, and it wasn't. I applaud and respect the people who made this movie so much for being able to do this under the conditions, under COVID, with the death of Chadwick Boseman, like the lowest point in human history in some time. You know what we went through with COVID, and that personal loss, and they managed to make what I feel is a great movie out of that. They satisfied and made a movie that allowed us to grieve with them, with the actors in real time. The death of a human man who really lived, and also the death of a character that we really loved. Um, T'Challa is the Captain Marvel of the MCU. In the way that Captain Marvel died of an illness,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and is gone from the comics, and is just a character that's like a reminder that, you know, these characters are not infallible, and that they can die, and that they succumb to illness, and we remember them for how great they were and what they did. That's how the MCU will likely remember T'Challa, and I respect the fuck out of that.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
I appreciate that. I think Namor was great. I think while she wasn't perfect, I think Shuri was awesome. I liked her as the Black Panther. We didn't really talk too much about that, but I liked her as the Black Panther. I liked how she was different, the way she used her abilities. I thought that was all cool. Can't wait for Ironheart. She stole the show. And yeah, just again, Namor, brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to see what they do next with this world of Wakanda and the world of Talokan. They're promising some really fun stuff. And yeah, it's really exciting. So, of course, I am excited for that. And next time, hopefully, we're talking about Doctor Doom versus Namor and Wakanda. So, lots of fun stuff.
Is right there. It's like I feel it. You know,
Reed Richards is coming up.
Shuri was the Black Panther during that too. You know. Like,
Yeah. Yep. So that's it for our review. Thank you so much for listening. Check out our main shows if you enjoyed this. I think you'll find them a lot of fun. We've got a whole bunch of content out there for you guys to check out, run through our channels. Until next time, take care.
See you next film.